Markets move on-chain. TradFi and crypto markets are converging on Canton, the world's biggest institutions, highest quality assets, and on-chain innovators already here. The first public blockchain network with privacy. Every 2 weeks, we'll showcase the applications and use cases shaping the future of finance. The ecosystem is growing, new markets are forming, and this is just the beginning. Welcome to the Canton Buildcast, where new connections create new possibilities. In this edition, the folks at Proof Group show us the first block explorer for Canton Network, highlighting rapid network adoption and how rising volumes of Canton coin transactions shine a light on the network's increasing utility across TradFi and on-chain capital markets. There's more to build and connections to be made, so come and find your place on Canton. Let's go.
Hi, Benson Gerald here, and we're back again for another Buildcast, and I'm very excited to be joined today by Chris and Kyle from Proof Group. Today we're going to cover all things on-chain data, how Proof Group is surfacing some really cool insights from the Canton Network, and we're going to take a look at the first block explorer for Canton. Chris, Kyle, welcome to the Buildcast. You're dialing in from the New York office at Digital Asset, right? You're at the DAS Summit. How's it going over there? What's the news on the ground?
Yes, it is great. Vibes here are very strong, and people are excited to come build, especially on Canton.
It's been a great experience. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Hopefully you're going to go along to the Canton meetup tonight as well.
We'll be there. Yes.
Cool. Let's get started. Let's start maybe hearing a little bit about Proof Group. You've been in and around the crypto space for a long time. You know, you guys are really experienced. Tell us a bit about who Proof Group is, what the firm's really doing in the space, and the opportunities you've been looking at across the whole blockchain and crypto ecosystem.
Yes, thank you very much for having us. We're very excited to be here on the Canton Buildcast. Just by way of introduction, I'm Chris Vittori, head of infrastructure for Proof Group, and joined by my friend Kyle Saska, our lead engineer, who's described our Canton Explorer and application. Proof Group is an investment fund founded by Noah Jessup in 2021, managed 2 sequential funds of liquid and private investments, with our most recent fund closing this past January. Our approach extends beyond just capital investments. We actively help our portfolio ecosystems and other high conviction projects through infrastructure support, allowing us to deeply engage with protocols we back and discover emerging teams within these ecosystems. This is what led us to discovering Canton and begin leaning into the ecosystem over a year ago. Proof Group was one of the first participants to run a node on Canton and is one of the only participants in the ecosystems that touches all aspects for running a validator, super validator, and now an application. We're one of the largest users of the Canton blockchain by transactions and host several nodes for other parties. We're very excited to explore our block explorer today.
Awesome. I'm very excited to see it too. And just the question I always like to ask about at the beginning is why Canton, right? You work with a lot of chains, a lot of firms in this space. What attracted you to Canton specifically?
Yeah, I think what's really exciting is the intersection between, capital markets, traditional financial firms, and really like true Web3 builders. I started my career at CME Group, which was on the team that launched their Bitcoin futures project. So I understand kind of the traditional market side of things, and Canton is very exciting for that kind of use case.
Yeah, so surfacing on-chain data, the analytics on that, the ability to run other services for compliance or augmenting block data is really big business now. And with the public Canton network now, there's more and more block data available. But of course, the design of the network infrastructure was really aimed at surfacing the key data that would best support the network insights and analysis, but while also maintaining that transactional privacy for participants that really makes Canton unique. So, as a firm that's really spent a lot of time looking at block explorers and the data from public chains, what data is it that you're seeing coming from Canton that you think is really interesting for anyone considering participating in the network?
It's a great question. And like you said, Canton is very unique in the sense that it mixes both private and public data. We're really looking to close the knowledge gap between people who are technically in the weeds on Canton, probably interacting with it programmatically, versus the people who fill non-technical roles. So these would be people who are in compliance or who are in regulatory, who are doing auditing, and who just need high assurance about the state of the chain. Right now, what that looks like today is largely the governance of the chain itself, as well as the native token Canton Coin. In the future, though, we see this opening up to a lot of optional people who want to, how should I put it, make available to us certain signals of their data for the benefit of their customers in the effort of collaborating across the subnets on Canton.
Okay, very interesting. So it is very much that, Block Explorer is going into the transactional level details, seeing the rounds, the events, everything that's happening at that kind of granular level for people, which is maybe different from a more kind of, transactional dashboard. People looking at more the activity at a kind of a trading level, let's say. It's more operational level.
We believe that there are a few major stakeholders of an application like this. First and foremost is the developers. These are people who are directly interacting with the chain and like the easy, convenient feedback provided from being able to see it visualized through our application. The second is the investor class, who is very interested in understanding at a macro level what is taking place on Canton, how things are trending, how parties are interacting, and what general activity looks like. And then the third stakeholder is really somebody who has the responsibility of making sure that they understand the integrity of the chain and exercise the ability to audit it or participate in governance. And therefore, they need the ability to really uncover a lot of signal through the chain itself in that effort.
All right, cool. So let's get into the fun part then, Carl. I'd love to see what you've built. Can you show us the Block Explorer? Explain some of the key insights, some of the interesting things you're seeing in the network right now. Maybe talk about a little bit how people can access the data and what they can start to think about now that we're surfacing some of this information about the network.
Sure, I would love to. I think the first place to start when we look at the Canton data is to look at the big world view. So this would be sort of the top-down aggregate level views of the network. So when you visit our Block Explorer, the first thing that you're going to see are a bunch of useful high-level statistics. For example, the total amount of Canton coins in circulation, as well as the number of parties that are interacting with the chain, and things like transaction volumes per unit time. This plot here is showing you things like the balances of Canton coin held by all the actors in the network. And this is really a proxy of where the value is being generated and where value is changing hands within the network over time. Furthermore, we can break things down by who's actually using the chain. This is how the actual ledger space is being allocated per user. And then finally, we have some sense of what it's being used for. In this case, we see a lot of activity in Canton coin changing hands, as well as the governance of the chain itself.
This is really cool because we can see that, obviously since Genesis in July last year, we had these kind of uniform rounds and the number of participants obviously at day one. And we can see that volume growing obviously over time, and also the reward splits by the different types of participants in the network here. Can you just dig into a little bit more of what we can see here in terms of the growth of the network, maybe, Carl?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, there's been two main drivers behind the growth of the network. What you can see is that things really ramp up towards the end of 2024, in particular in December. This is due largely to the introduction of applications. The end of December was when a lot of applications began to onboard, and this is evident in the increased amount of transaction volume from a lot of existing participants who really found themselves at the epicenter of these new transactions. Additionally, we can see that there's a lot of new users that have been onboarded in the form of validators that have really come in starting in February of 2025. So it's the increase in the number of active participants in the network, as well as the increase in the prolificity of a lot of these other existing users that has driven a lot of the network growth in the past 6 months.
Yeah, one of the things I would even kind of highlight there is on this chart on the transactions per day. Well over 100,000 transactions per day are now happening on Canton. And that's pretty monumental when you consider Ethereum, which is doing about 1 million transactions per day, that Canton in its infancy right now is almost like a 10th the amount of transactions per day. And we expect that to keep growing quite by a lot in the near future.
So next, we're going to take a look at a view that goes over the live actors within the network. So this is monitoring actual nodes that are participating in the network right now. Each one of them has a Canton coin balance, as well as the last time that they were seen interacting with the network via transaction. And if we want more color, we can click into any of these and instantly bring up a screen that is going to describe to us a little bit in particular about the entity. So the entity is furnished with a name that is native to Canton, as well as a particular Canton coin balance and their growth statistics over time. Here in this plot, we can see the amount of Canton coin balance growth for this particular user, as well as their growth in terms of the fractional ownership of all coins in the network. And if we wanted to ask the question, what is this node doing and how are they participating and how are they involving themselves with the network? That's described here in the sort of macro breakdown of the kinds of transactions that they're firing off over time and the way that they're engaging with Canton. Additionally, we could, out of convenience, search for a user up here. So I can type in proof, and the system will automatically know to pull up proof group and show our validator. And again, we get a similar level of statistics about what our Canton coin growth has looked like due to our interactions over time, as well as the kinds of things that we've done. As you can see here, we have a big spike in our transaction volume when we started participating in the application ecosystem in late 2024.
This is very cool because obviously with Canton, we're using Canton Coin as a kind of proxy to show the fees being burned on the network, the kinds of things that people are participating in, in a way that's maybe different from other explorers where you could see all other kinds of information about who counterparties are and who people are trading with, that kind of thing. This is very much using Canton Coin as that proxy for the activities. You can really see, at the validator level, which applications people are participating in, and therefore which applications are providing real utility to the network, to the people that are there, which of those featured apps are really driving the volume. I think this is a really great insight for people looking at the network from that perspective. So it's really cool.
Absolutely. We agree. And we think that this is going to furnish everybody's understanding about what is really getting traction, and sort of where the real product market fit is, and to sort of build in those directions. Towards the sort of direction of building, we even have things like live feeds of activity in the network. This is sort of thought of typically as like RPC behavior. This is a way of taking the kinds of activity that's happening in Canton and breaking it out to people who need to aggregate this data and use it as input for various systems. At a technical level, this is sort of wrapping a WebSocket around the actual activity that's going on in Canton right now. And we believe that this, in combination with the analytics that we're providing, is a good foundation for what will eventually be the go-to platform for understanding what's happening on Canton.
So awesome. I think that's a really good foundation. It really highlights where we are today. Well, what's coming next? Obviously, we're in a V1 now and we're live. People can start talking to you guys about this and getting their hands on the data. But what's coming next?
Absolutely. So the immediate next goal for us is to really finish off the integration with applications and subscriptions. This is currently the modality by which people are interacting with Canton to develop value for the network. So it's important to us that we're able to sort of parse this data and make it available to everybody as easily as possible. Beyond that, we're looking for a lot of potential integrations with stakeholders of the network who have data that is not currently volunteered to the global synchronizer for the benefit of their customers and for collaboration with other subnets.
Fantastic. So that's going to start to surface some of the information from, as you say, the other networks across Canton, where we obviously have seen a lot of activity in the private subnets of Canton. We often talk about the trillions of repo that's going across the network. We talk about other big numbers in Canton, which obviously haven't been able to be surfaced because they're not connected to the synchronizer in the same way. But you will be a good confluence, I think, for all that data over time, and it'd be really exciting to see that come into the Explorer as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that.
Absolutely. And we approach these collaborations with a respect for the privacy of the data held by these counterparties. We do foresee that eventually, though, this ends up looking a bit like a data brokering service, where this is a hub where different parties can get together and mutually benefit from sharing the right pieces of data. And that's really on theme with Canton, is privacy for the right data and collaboration for the right data. And that's really where we think, and I think where Canton aligns with us, that the value is generated.
So as I said, we're live. This is now available to the network. Who can access this today, and how can people get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, sure. So, please feel free to reach out to myself, Chris at proofgroup.xyz, to get connected. Immediate use case will be, other validators that want to kind of connect into this to use the application to check out their own rewards, reporting and whatnot for their back office. Certainly all the applications, we're going to kind of put them front and center, as we kind of roll out more features for this and get their application, rewards and statistics kind of put on our front pages here. And any other, developers or just people looking to learn about the ecosystem, feel free to kind of check out the public facing domain. And we look forward to hearing any feedback that you guys had as well. We'd love to kind of collaborate and build this across the ecosystem.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing this develop, and maybe we should have you back on a monthly basis to give us the latest and greatest insights from the network, because I think you guys are going to be the closest to it at the moment, and well done for getting there first. So thanks so much for joining us on the Buildcast today, both of you. Enjoy the rest of the Digital Asset Summit this week and the free drinks at the Canton party tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
It's a wrap for this episode of the Canton Buildcast. Want to dive deeper? Check out the links below to learn more, connect to apps, or bring your assets and use cases to Canton. And don't forget to hit subscribe to stay on top of the latest apps and opportunities shaping institutional grade on-chain finance. Bye for now.